910, Big 550, KTRS. Earlier in the week, we talked to Dr. Bertrand Piccard, who is the pilot of the Solar Impulse solar-powered plane as he was flying from Dallas to St. Louis. We were talking to him as he was flying just over Oklahoma City, and we were talking to him while he was in his while he was flying the plane. We were talking to him on the radio, and believe it or not, we were watching him on the TV side of things. It was some pretty extraordinary video, and be able to look at a pilot flying a solar-powered plane that wasn't using an ounce of fossil fuel as he flew to St. Louis was pretty incredible. Since then, they've landed safely, and they blew up their own hangar, and it now sits out at Lambert Airport. And Dr. Bertrand Piccard is here in studio along with Andre Borschberg. Gentlemen, welcome to Big 550 KTRS.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How has your stay been here in St. Louis so far?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Such a great welcome from everyone, especially the people at the airport.
Yeah.
The public who came to visit us.
Is it still open? Can they still see the plane publicly?
They can. It's open today. It's open tomorrow morning. They can sign up on our website. They have to sign up.
Okay.
But they still can.
Right. And the website is?
www.solarimpulse.com.
Solarimpulse.com. And it's open today and tomorrow?
Exactly. At least.
At least today and tomorrow. You also brought with you your own hangar, which looks like a giant centipede. You take it with you wherever you go? How'd you get it here?
We were planning to use the Boeing hangar,
right,
which were unfortunately damaged by the storm last Saturday.
Right.
So the news came out Saturday night that there was no hangar available.
Right.
But fortunately, we have under test, as you say, a mobile hangar, an inflatable structure that we have brought with us and that we just set up when we arrived here. It took 6 hours to inflate it. And interestingly, it's not the airplane going into the hangar, it's the hangar going around the airplane. So that's what's new about it.
Dr. Bertrand Piccard, you were the pilot. We talked to you earlier in the week. Talk for a moment about how this came to be. How are you guys sitting here? Who's funding this? How did this all what was the idea here?
Yes, so I was the pilot for this flight to St. Louis. Andre was the pilot from Phoenix to Dallas.
Okay.
And I flew it from San Francisco to Phoenix.
Okay.
So it's one seat that we both share.
Sure.
And it's true that we share everything in this project. Andre is an engineer. I'm a medical doctor. I brought this vision of flying around the world in a solar-powered airplane, flying day and night with no fuel, after having successfully made the first balloon flight non-stop around the world. That was in 1999. But for this, I needed 3.7 tons of liquid gas. And it was really tight because at the end there was 80 pounds left.
Right.
And I was thinking, okay, the success was only due to these 80 pounds left. Now I really dream about flying around the world again, but with no fuel. You know, when you are not limited by the quantity of fuel, by your consumption, by your burners. And I brought this vision to the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, the equivalent of the MIT in Switzerland.
Sure.
And they say, wow, that's interesting, but we don't know if it's feasible, so let's make a feasibility study. And they had the great idea to ask Andre Borschberg to run that feasibility study. And from that moment on, we said, okay, let's go for it. We'll work together. That was exactly 10 years ago. And we decided to go for it, you know, to make our own team, to make our own airplane, because nobody wanted to subcontract the construction. Nobody thought it was possible in the aeronautical world. So we initiated that. We launched the project. We have private corporations who fund it. And now we have the plane flying.
The solar power has been around a long time. Matter of fact, more and more solar panels are showing up on roofs all around St. Louis. So how much new technology is in this solar plane?
Everything is new. Everything is new. The electrical motors are the best you can find in the world. The batteries were modified by our partners, Solvay and Bayer Material Science, and they have the best energy density in the world. The insulation materials for the batteries for the pilot, the same. It's the best ever made. The lighting systems are the most efficient with LED systems. Carbon fiber structure, the lightest you can get. And this was the big challenge, to develop all this, to put all this together, to optimize it, and to have this plane which has the wingspan of a jumbo jet and the weight of a small car, making it extremely energy efficient.
You know, when we had this goal of flying around with a solar-powered airplane, so using only solar energy, but we knew that to cross the ocean we had to fly many days, many nights. So we had an airplane, we had this endurance, because endurance is always the critical point in any aircraft.
Right.
So we had to design an airplane which was able to fly almost perpetually. So to make it possible, we also understood that we had to reduce drastically the energy consumption of the airplane. And that's what we really worked on, to make it really efficient. And that's reasons why it's so big, because it needs very little energy to fly. And that's reasons why it's so light, the weight of a car. So it's a jumbo weighing not more than the weight of a small to mid-sized car.
It's also interesting because you have to have the large wingspan to get the solar panels on. So you have to have the larger wingspan to keep the solar panels on. So it's almost like, where do we cut weight somewhere else because we need all this wingspan?
Well, it's a benefit. It was not the driving factor. The driving factor was to have a big wingspan, to have an airplane which flies very well, which means it glides. I mean, if it needs to glide, it would glide. It takes 4 hours to descend from 30,000 feet to 10,000 feet. So you don't need much energy to fly horizontally. So
right.
that was the driving point. And as you say, the surface is big. So by having all these solar cells, if you calculate how much energy you can collect over an entire day, average power we have is the power of a scooter. So you can see that it's very limited. So we need it to have something which is extremely efficient.
Make sure I got that right. You said the engine in this solar-powered plane is as powerful as a scooter?
Yes, for horizontal flight. For takeoff, of course, we need more power, and we have more power. But that's exactly what we have, and that's exactly what we need.
Now, of course, the downside of all this big wingspan is that we have to fly slowly. And the bigger the wingspan you have, the slower you fly. If you want to fly very fast, you reduce the wingspan. You even make a variable geometry, to put the wings even closer to the fuselage. So for us, we fly about 40 to 50 miles per hour. And I would say it's the downside if the goal is to get to one point quickly, but the goal for us is not to get to one point quickly because we don't need to refuel, we don't need to stop, and we can fly theoretically forever.
You don't need to fuel, you don't need to stop, but you do need to go to the bathroom. How do you go to the bathroom on the plane?
Well, that's quite easy. We have full bottles of water on the right side and empty bottles of water on the left side when we take off. And at the landing, it's exactly the other way around.
All right, so you don't need a R&R sanitation porta potty for the plane. You're good.
Not yet, but
not yet.
Because we have flights of maximum 24 hours with this airplane. We have no autopilot on this airplane, so we limit ourselves of up to maximum 24 hours. With the second airplane, which is under construction, that we will use for the flight around the world, where we'll be flying 5 days, 5 nights. We have a toilet which is integrated into the seats, so you have to make
a great idea,
the pilot sustainable as well.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier today. In 1903, the Wright brothers took off from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, for a seconds flight, and it was changed the world. 24 years later, in 1927, Charles Lindbergh took off in the Spirit of St. Louis airplane from Long Island, New York, and landed in Paris. That's 24 years. I got to ask you, where is solar-powered flight 24 years from now?
Well, that's a very good question. Where are we today? Today we are between 1915 and 1920. So we are able to do the cross-country flight, what the pioneers did with traditional aviation.
Right.
But we are still unable to cross the ocean. So we are before the time that people started, and Charles Lindbergh is the best example, who did the crossing of the Atlantic. So we hope to be 1927 in 2 years. So it's clear that we will need another 25, 30 years at least to get renewable energies into airplanes. That's exactly what it took to have 100 passengers flying over the oceans non-stop in 1950.
Okay, but let's not even look at airplane travel. Let's look at other applicable technological advances. Maybe not planes, but cars. scooters, my electricity, my house, my air conditioning, my refrigerator. What technology are you guys creating now that we'll be able to use 5-10 years from now?
We like very much your question because it means that you really understood what it's all about in Solar Impulse. It's true that all the technologies we use today could already be used everywhere in the world to reduce the energy consumption, to be more energy efficient. And at the same time, these technologies can create jobs, can make profit and sustain growth while protecting the environment. So it's really a win-win. The batteries we have can be put in every car with the same type of electrical motors we have. We have a new system of insulation for the batteries in the Pilot that can be used for houses, for refrigerators, for everything where there is a thermal exchange. And today it's already possible to have houses that don't use energy from the grid. They would save so much energy and get energy from the sun that they can even produce more than they use. You can have today a world that divides by 2 its energy consumption and provides half of the rest with renewable sources, with exactly the same technologies than the one we're promoting. And this is really what we want to show. You know, for such a long time, renewable energies, that was boring. Protection of the environment, that was expensive. And nobody wanted to go for that. And now I think it's really exciting. It starts to be profitable. And that's really the direction the world should go to. But we have to demonstrate it, and Solar Impulse has this goal.
I hear somebody told me recently that the only green they care about is the color of money. And they can save money with solar energy, so they love it. They don't, they were being somewhat facetious. They care about the earth, but they care about their wallet more. And so if you can show me how I can save money on my energy bills, I'm listening.
Yes, and this is absolutely logical. It's a normal process. But I give you the example of the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. They reduced their energy consumption by 11%. It made them a reduction in cost in 41%. So it is profitable.
Right.
We have seen with André when we were in the Silicon Valley a new system of windows which can absorb up to 96% of the heat going through. It means that you don't need shutters anymore. You can reduce your air conditioning unit by 2. And you make profit every month because your energy bill is lower. So all these things exist, but they are limited to startups, to universities, to labs, and they don't come on the market because people are reluctant to change, to take a new technology. People love their habits. People love to live in the past, not in the future usually.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of big companies sniffing around at your technology, right? I mean, that's the idea. I'm sure you do, right?
Absolutely.
And we work with them. I mean, they are partners, so it's a win-win situation. The companies working with us benefit from what we are doing, but they also develop technologies that we use and that they can sell to their own customers.
All right, so the plane's here through at least, so it's open to the public at least through tomorrow. So go to solarimpulse.com and sign up and go today and or tomorrow, all day tomorrow.
Yes,
probably next week we will open also to the public because the weather won't be so good to continue to Washington.
But more important is that the people who subscribe on our website, they will be our virtual passengers for the next flight. They will be flying with the pilots in the cockpit to Washington, D.C., virtually, that's true, on a USB key, but all the names will be carried in the airplanes.
Well, that's pretty neat, and we had the capabilities to watch you fly into St. Louis on our TV side. It was pretty extraordinary technology. That is,
and thanks to you and all you did during the flight, the people in St. Louis know all about Solar Impulse, and they invite us to see really interesting things. They're really nice with us. They recognize the badge of all the members of our team, and we really feel at home. Thank you.
That's not me. That's just St. Louis. That's just St. Louisans. Dr. Bertrand Piccard is the pilot, also pilot Andre Borschberg. They're with Solar Impulse, the website to find out more, solarimpulse.com. Guys, best of luck, and thanks for stopping in.
Thank you for the invitation.